Hey guys, so today, this video, I really want to talk about something interesting that I've been thinking about this for a long time. The problem I have with IAPs in the Disneyland Resort, and especially Disney Park in general, actually. So the big thing is that if you want IAPs in the park as attractions, you better make sure they are good. Like the ride itself, it has to be really good. Something that wants us to want us to ride on, and something that we want to be sold on. And and of course today, when you look at the top 10 attractions at Disneyland, they're pretty much original. Yeah, there are some IP attractions that are considered the best in the top 10 when you go to Disneyland, and and the rankings of them when you look at it. Not just but in the top 10, but in the top 20. And so, for that, the only way, and again, if Disney wants Star Wars attraction to be really good, make a ride system that would want us to make the ride over and over again. Like, make it thrilling, something that excites us and everything, and surprised us, all of that. And I think they could have done it a little bit better with Galaxy Edge. And I'm not just saying, oh, you should have original trilogy. That's not what I'm saying. All it is just build attraction. Again, that's good. Same thing for the entertainment part. The entertainment needs to be good, and of course the land itself, like Galaxy Edge, should have been a much better. Which they should have an extra attraction, like a third one. Because the problem for Galaxy Edge last year, why they didn't bring that much people into the park, or actually into the land, was because that not only they were just blocking annual pass holders, and many people on the East Coast were waiting for the one at Walt Disney World to open by the end of August. It was because of Rise of the Resistance didn't open. They thought it would. They thought both of them would open, but then Disney came out and said it's going to open later on because they were having problems with the trying to get the ride going and everything. And that's what caused many people to not go to Disneyland. It wasn't just because the fear of crowds and annual pass holders blocked and everything, but it was because of um, of the ride itself. It couldn't get going and everything, so they decided we'll wait later when it opens, and then we'll ride both of them at the same time. Because especially how much money you're paying for to go to the park, and all of a sudden you go to the land and there's only one attraction open, and the second one isn't open yet, and so you're paying all that money just to basically ride one ride, and that's it. Plus, there's a lot of kids who actually go to Disneyland for the rides, some of the characters, but the shopping and dining. The problem with the shopping part is there's a lot of stuff in Disneyland, like a lot of merchandise that are expensive. Like, I can get a lightsaber, and I don't actually have to build one. I can get like a plastic one at Target for a cheap price, whether $10 to $20, depending on the material of the lightsaber. And build your own droid sounds pretty cool, but they're pretty big and they cost $100, and sometimes, or actually a lot of times, they won't work, which I've been hearing reviews about that. And same thing with build your lightsaber, they won't work that good once I would say probably about a couple days or so that they won't work properly anymore. So I can actually build a little small droid, and I don't need to like have one, or unless I can get like a small droid from Water Target or Walmart for a cheap price that could be not only be cheap but good quality to have, that I would actually want this product. And so yeah, and again, of course, why are so many original attractions so popular? Not just because they're original, but because it's something that we have never thought of before. We never thought we would go on a pirate's ride and see what it was like what it was like to be a pirate. And we have never thought we would ever go through a haunted house. And no one has ever thought of going on a mine train that would be like a roller coaster. Of course, there was a mine train that would just go through. It was just a normal train. It was called the Nature's Wonderland Rainbow Canyon Mine Train Ride at Frontierland at Disneyland. And now today it's now become Big Thunder Mountain uh, Railroad Roller Coaster, and it's the best ride ever that I've written. No one has ever thought that they would ride such a ride like that. And of course, none of us, except Imagineers, because they're the ones who come up with these ideas that we never thought that they would pull something off like this, especially for Walt Disney as well. We never thought we would have a Matterhorn mountain from Switzerland popping up in Anaheim, California, and use it as a roller coaster and have cast members climb up and down on the rock like they do. And no one has ever thought of going on a submarine ride. Well, now today you can go on with Nemo and his friends. And no one has ever thought of an indoor roller coaster that's dark and make us like we're in outer space and we're on like a roller coaster car that's designed like a rocket and everything going really fast. No one has ever thought about that. And again, besides the Imagineers, none of us would ever thought about that. We always think about attractions that are based on Disney movies, and that's how we view Disneyland, where everything's from Disney, and stuff like the movies and television shows would all be in the park for a reason for that. But for originalized ideas, we have never thought about that before, all thanks to Walt Disney. And no one has ever thought of going through an old town of Main Street from the streets of America and everything. No one has ever thought about that before from the early 1900s of what it was like in Walt's childhood day and what downtowns were like at that time from small towns. And no one has ever thought of going on a jungle boat ride, and especially strolling through a land that's jungle and everything. No one has ever thought about tiki birds singing. And no one has ever thought about riding on a riverboat from the rivers of America and everything. And no one has ever thought about going through a western land that's a tribute to the Wild West days and the pioneer days and the gold mining age and everything. No one has ever thought about that, bringing it to a theme park, especially the Disneyland. But and then of course, on the other hand, you got Fantasyland. Of course, that's mainly you have most of the attractions, like a lot of them are all IPs, but these are all classic movies that came out in Walt's day and were so popular and decided he would bring a land that would tell about all the fairy tale story. So that's what we thought of having some of those movies being in his park, but put them in a land called Fantasyland where it's all fairy tale stories. And I know we have It's a Small World and the Matterhorn, which they're a real life thing, like a original idea thing in the land itself, and of course, which I know some people out there are going to question that, thinking it's weird. Why do we have the Matterhorn and It's a Small World ride where there's children from around the world singing how this small this world is really in real life and everything. And yeah. And then of course, with that, I do believe we will get original stuff pretty soon. And for the past decade, actually, we've been getting nothing but a lot of IP attractions in our parks. And I know that concerns a lot of people because, and of course, there are some IP attractions that are pretty much not the best attractions ever in Disney history, not just because of what they're themed to, but because of the ride system itself. And yeah, we also do have a list of original attractions too that were considered the worst ever. And it happens a lot when it comes to theme parks like that, especially in the business world. So, and yeah, and of course, and again, no, none of us have ever thought of riding the monorail or having a train in the park. And that's why those attractions are so popular. And they're timeless and they're classic. Even Dave from Fresh Baked Disney had a video about that of IAPs versus original. And he broke it down and everything. And it was very, very interesting. And I decided I'll make something a video like that and share my thoughts about that. So, and yeah, when Tomorrowland happens, by getting a major upgrade and expansion, I think we will get some original attractions, just as long as they're good. Something that would want to ride on forever and ever again. And and then of course, if you want IPs in the park again, make sure they're good and retaining. And what's still on us, you know. So that's pretty much it. All right, thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys next time.